Heathen's Garage. Better hang on, this episode's going a lot of directions. When I say it's going a lot of directions, what I really mean is this is the last week before Miles of Mayhem for us. So I want to try and include as much as what Buddy Kyle is doing and what I'm doing, and just sort of like let you know where we're really at as far as how not ready we are, or ready we are, depending on, I guess your outlook on life. The last episode of this one, you saw me drive it out of the garage. I took it around the block and broke the exhaust. Well, I didn't really break the exhaust. It just fell off because it didn't have a hanger. I put a hanger on. I put it back together. Then I took it for another trip around the block. And then the exhaust actually broke. Just the flex tube blew apart. It was sort of the cheapest one you could get off Amazon. So, yeah, that happened. We've got a couple more on order. They're not here yet, but we got a whole week. So what's the panic? I suppose we should look at my list now. Now, of note, the things that have stars are the important things. Turbocharge, it is done. Now, hot piping was done, but now it's broken, so it's undone. Oil supply and return is done. Center console is done, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Driver's seat is mounted. You've already seen that. Torque converter, that was last week's episode. Camshaft is not going to happen. Fuel lines, that's probably not going to happen. Valve train issues, that's today's job. Insulation and carpet, not done. Cooling system, done. I think it's running cool enough. Spacer between trans and engine. I didn't talk about it, but that's done. Fixed spare T-case, not happening. Fixed spare trans, not happening. Make fog lights work, maybe if I get time. Trailer wiring, maybe if I get time. Wiper motor, I think that works. Heater, that's a good one. That's never happening. Rear window, don't care about. Transcooler lines, done. Leaks. Yeah. Switch panel, not going to happen. Plug wires on order. Driver's side door handle, I fixed that. Decals, that's not going to happen. Mirrors are mounted. Data record button, I figured out how. Secure luggage rack. That's whatever. Loose front end / alignment. I did fix the loose front end. That was just a gearbox thing. The alignment, maybe that'll happen. Replace rear springs. That's not happening. But I did order air shocks for the back. So, that's basically the same thing. Get spare tire. I have the tires. I need to get them mounted onto wheels. So that's, the only thing with the star on it is the valve train issues. That's a win, right? I'm going to put a star beside insulation and carpet, too. Because, well, my wife's riding with me this year, and I think it's important for my marriage that I have some insulation and carpet, so that makes the list. Got everything pulled off just to pull this valve cover. I haven't popped it off yet. There's a funny thing that I wanted to make sure you guys saw, and it happened last year at Miles of Mayhem, see. We were just outside our second destination of the week. And it started popping and banging, and I thought it broke the engine, and we pulled her over, and, well, it turns out what had happened was, well, come off of here, I'll show you. Yeah. You see how now, our side of the road, you can barely tell that we had to fix anything, but if you'll notice, this one is slightly different than this one over here, and it's also slightly different than this one. What happened is, I think on assembly I left one loose, and it broke, and actually by one I mean two. They both broke, but I had one spare with me, so we put one new one on. Then we cut the license plate apart, and we did that because we needed it to stay together. It just sort of is a strap that holds it together-ish. And then what happened is I completely forgot about it and then continued driving it. And we put, 2,000-3,000 kilometers on it like that. And obviously the fix worked, but, it's best not to push your luck. So I've ordered a few new ones, and we'll replace this broken one, bring a few spares again. I think realistically it was an assembly error on my part, but maybe they're faulty. Mostly, I remember being pretty glad I had a few spare push rods with me because, well, a couple of them bent. There's one still laying in the intake valley, but if it hasn't fallen out yet, we're not going to worry about them. That's your little bridge. Rockers go on either side like this. This one, because it came loose, they broke. And then it was in two pieces, and like that just wasn't quite good enough. So yeah, we cut a license plate up and then just sort of put it on there and stuffed this together, and that just sort of held it all together. Like, I don't know, it wasn't pretty, but it lasted for a couple thousand miles, so I guess that's all it needed to do. We should probably keep this piece. That's a good one. Now this is the replacement you can get, or at least the replacement you can get easily. It's an extra piece design, but instead of being like cast aluminum, the crossover bridge deal, whatever you call it, is now a piece of bent up steel. And in my mind, that's a little smarter, because it'll bend instead of break. Maybe that's better? I don't know. They're the ones I can get easily, so they're what I have. And this year I'm bringing 3 spares instead of just 1. Alright, got a little bit of Lubriplate 105 on there just to make sure that they sort of break in even. Now we're going to snug them down, and we'll make sure that they put a little tension on that hydraulic lifter. The factory ones I actually shaved down about 40 thou because it seemed like they were just right on the cusp of being too tall. So we shaved them down to avoid any noises. These ones I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Feels like I'm squishing a hydraulic lifter. Yeah, we are. So what we can do now is we can just turn the engine till we see the intake valve close. That way both of them should be at the lowest part of the camshaft. And when we do that, what we're going to check for is to see if the push rod's like tight in its spot, or if it's sloppy and loose. If it's sloppy and loose, then we have to shave this pedestal down a little bit. If it's tight and we can just rotate it, then we're okay. Alright, so we stopped right when we saw this intake close. Now we reach in here, we feel that push rod, and we can just rotate it with our fingers, but we can't wiggle it. And same on the exhaust. So it's probably fine. So now that we've done that, we're reasonably comfortable with it. We'll tear the other side apart, retorque it all. That's what we're going to carry on with today. Meanwhile, buddy Kyle's here. Let's go see what he was up to. Well, what he was up to last night. He's here again today, but first I need to show you what we were doing last night, and then we'll catch up with what's going on today. So are you hanging everything off the plastic? Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, okay, cool.
But all the plastic's reconnected just as it was.
Oh, I see, because you've...
Oh, wow, that's really far down. That's way different.
What's way different?
Let's get match the top.
Oh, I see. You built it like a motorcycle where the engine is part of the structure. Except in this case, it's your intercooler is part of...
Yeah, the intercooler is the structure.
Yeah.
Look how strong it is. It's way stronger than plastic.
Well, the guys at like Honda and Yamaha knew what they were doing.
So do the people at the Chinese factory that built that intercooler.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, like, I'm sure your intercooler is as strong as the plastic guard that you had across there.
Yeah,
like,
easily.
I see your logic. I really wish I would have got a transcooler like this.
I know!
This is a way better thing than I have. I'm super jealous.
And it was how much more money?
I have no idea what mine cost, actually. Just, like, I bought it last year.
Oh, yeah.
So it must be free. Since it was already paid for, that means it was free.
Bought in a time that's not this pay period is free.
Yeah. So the short version is, Kyle's putting a transcooler in. It's way nicer than my transcooler that I just put in. So I'm going to leave and be jealous somewhere else. So we're at the stage of game where Kyle's going to start the Avalanche and drive it out. So that's pretty cool. So it's like 3 hours later after I said we were going to drive it out the first time, and we have successfully diagnosed the CAN bus issue. And now we're actually going to drive it out. You have a signal light on. Look at all this fancy stuff.
Is it puking out the wastegate? Or is that just, no, it's just burning off the...
Yeah, it's gonna smoke real bad at some point in time during this drive. Tuner said half throttle only, final time. It's officially Monday, which means there's exactly 5 days until we need to be on the road with the Jeep. We just fixed the exhaust leak, which was the failed flex pipe from Amazon. Big surprise there. We've got our valve covers back on. Which, funny story about the valve covers. I don't know how many times I've had those valve covers on and off and on and off. Only today did I notice that the bolts I was using were bottoming out and they're too long. And that's why I've had no end of valve cover leaks. The more you know, right? So since my project was frustrating anyways, I decided to come out and see how Kyle was doing. And it was slightly more interesting than I expected. Ooh, that was aggressive. Now I'm a party to this, so I'll just hold the hood up. Oh, that just flew right at me. How close are we? Fairly. Alrighty, we are about to try another test drive. Every time I drive this, I feel like, I get to drive the Jeep for the first time, even though it's like the 97th time I'm driving it. It just feels like the first time, you know? Well, let's see if it at least starts and doesn't make exhaust leaks or valve train noise. Oh, yeah, disconnect. Nope. exhaust again. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is the exhaust is a relatively easy fix. The bad news is it just puked transmission fluid all down the underside of the truck. So we're gonna have to figure that out. A guy took the evening and thought about it and tried to weigh his options, and this is our plan. I took the beater Mustang over to my wife's shop, and she was kind enough to fit it in. They're gonna let a mechanic who knows something, unlike myself, just have a quick once over on it, make sure it's like, you know, ready to roll, or at least as close as it can be ready to roll without throwing parts at it, because, you know, I'm cheap and it's a beater car. Anyways, just sort of top up the fluids, whatever else it might need. And that's contingency plan, just in case. In the meantime, as far as this thing goes, I put a trans temp gauge in it and fixed the exhaust for the 11th time. And we're just gonna go for a drive and see what's what, I guess. Like, we'll just... The fluid isn't burnt at all, but it sure seemed smoking hot, and it was puking everywhere. Maybe it was over full, I don't know, but either way, it's time I go for another drive and see what's what. And also I ordered a lighter stall converter, so, you know, if all else fails, I guess we'll put a smaller converter in it, and hopefully that will make it possible for us to take it. Because, like, it sure was a lot of man hours to not take it, but also, you know, I did make a contingency plan just in case, because sometimes reality rears its ugly head. Like, it's just a ton of converter. When does it start moving? Yeah, like, it's more like... It's stalling at like 4,200. No wonder it slips like crazy. Whoa. No temperature in it yet. Best tester. Check our level here. Fluid level looked okay, at least for now. Trans temp sitting at like 175 right now. I think it's allowed to live there. I don't want to see more than about 225, I think. That's what internet said. end of day pretty much Wednesday. And, well, we didn't get a ton done, but we are making good progress. I felt much better after our little test drive and am less concerned about it. I did order a different torque converter, and I think it'll be here tomorrow. If there's an opportunity for me to change it, I think I might. And I don't know, it'll just give me a little peace of mind. I love that 3000 stall torque converter. Like, it leaves like a rocket ship and it sounds so cool and stuff, but we got a lot of ground to cover, and I don't think I have enough whatever. I ordered another transmission cooler as well. We'll put something in it and hopefully it'll fix it. Other than that, that's where we're at today. Buddy Kyle took his truck like for a good long drive. He's sort of getting the tune figured out, and it seems like it's running not bad, and yeah, everything's just hunky-dory in that situation. He was going to get AC today because that made his priority list. So, like, you can tell how much sympathy I have for him right now. But yeah, I don't know, we're working with fans, and I'll give you an update in a while when we're doing something more interesting. So we just took out our perfectly good old shocks to put in these ones. They're like air shocks. You run a hose to it, you throw some air at it, and then suddenly what you got is, you know, an insta lift kit. Or in our case, just enough to hopefully, you know, fix the sagged out suspension look. Here's my hot tip of the day. You should put some loom on these airlines. They're not good at abrasion, so if you can protect them somehow, that's more ideal. I'm using the clear tubing that I keep using for things because I have lots of it, and it's really cheap. It's a little bit annoying, but highly effective. I'm coming, Elvis. Where are you going? Come here, buddy. Hi. Oh, and Luna Bear too, eh? You're a good boy. Gonna say hi to the people? Is that the highest you get? Luna, can you say hi to the people? That's what you get. So I may have noticed that the T-case mount on the Jeep is cracked. So we're currently robbing this one. I have the Jeep parked over at my wife's shop, and we're going to yard it off and fix that. I was going to yard the transmission and swap the torque converter because I have a different one, and it drove really weird. Not good kind of weird on the way over. Like, it's not good again. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is it's not okay. We're going to throw a converter in it and hope that it's okay, but I don't think it's okay. I guess we'll find out. We got our best shot right here. My lovely wife has offered me the shop. We got our tools. We've got a converter. We'll just give it a go. And, you know, if it works out great, and if it doesn't, well, there's always the beater staying. It's got working AC, which I would not turn down at the moment. I still want the Jeep fixed, though. Don't get me wrong. We're currently drilling out our AMC flywheel to fit a Turbo 350 torque converter, I guess. It's just a smaller bolt pattern that's on the Chevy. The pad surface is actually big enough for it, but it wasn't drilled out that way. And this was the only converter I could find today. Somehow for a turbo, well, it was advertised for a Turbo 400, but it was wrong anyway, so I don't know. We're kind of at a last ditch try anyway, so hopefully it works. So it's officially 1 in the morning on Friday, I think. We leave on Saturday. Miles of Mayhem test and tune starts Sunday. And the transmission's back in with the second new torque converter. And yeah, we're gonna fire it up for the first time. Since we have the option, we'll run it on the stand for a while and let it warm up, make sure the fluids are good, and then basically we'll drive straight home because it's best not to drive things that are loud late at night while you're overtired. And it's just a bad idea. It's like 2 in the morning. So we drove it home Friday night, or Friday morning? Yeah, Friday morning. So we drove it home at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and you know, it actually drove nice. So we elected to spend today, which was Friday, well, old nephew Sam, he's like, man, I want a piece of that YouTube action. So he joined me for the day, and I tell you, for a 9-year-old, you don't get much better than that. This is how she went. Go.
Hi, welcome to Ethan's garage. T-minus 2 days till Miles of Mayhem. Ethan's wife said it's too loud in the Jeep, so underlay cheap dynamite.
Well, nephew Sam, what do you got there?
Cheap dynamite, a roller. So what you do is peel the bottom off your sound deadener. Try not to touch any of the black stuff. It's just really gross. So you peel it off, and then you take this, put it on your patch of floor that you want to put your sound deadener on, or roof, depending on what you're doing at the time, and then you lay it down. First, you might want to prep and just check if it fits. Then you take your roller, and there's squares, and you're gonna want to roll over it until you don't see those squares.
Sam, would you consider yourself an expert at putting dynamite on?
No.
Looks like you're an expert. How many times have you done it before?
None.
Oh, okay. Now, while my expert installs the old underlay, I'm gonna go the extra mile and even put a muffler on the thing, which seems pretty excessive for us, but the boss has spoken and said this thing's too loud, so we do what we need to do.
The boss is your wife, right?
Yes. The boss is always my wife.
Can you believe it? The boss made us put exhaust on. Unbelievable, right? I'm just getting ready for all the curvy bits, which will be the hard bits, because you got to make them curve up there. We're changing rollers for one reason. After 2 pieces, I've decided if I do more pounds per square inch, the job goes faster. Because this is only a third as wide, which means I can put 3 times the pressure in one place, but it'll take 3 times as long to do the same amount, but I won't need to do the same amount. So I think I'll just change rollers. Is because if you think about it, it takes the the pressure is dispersed 3 times as much. So this is 3 times stronger. I only had to go over it twice with this. So I only have to go over it once with this. Now we have to work.
Now we have to work, eh?
Or when you're measuring though, always use a pen or something, because what it's doing is you're making marks so that you know where to cut with your scissors.
You make marks before you cut? Oh.
This is the first startup with the new exhaust on the Cherokee Chief, the Jeep, turbocharged, but now it's got the exhaust. And it should be quieter because it's got mufflers. And yeah, it's just cool.
Oh no, it doesn't even run anymore.
Getting smoky from all that.
Yeah.
Taking, or whatever it is.
What for, Sam? We're a little too,
Cheap.
you know, we're not cheap. We're poor. It's different.
Oh. I thought it was the same thing.
No, cheap means you might have money but you don't spend it. Poor means you don't have any money. It's different.
Well, you can be cheap and be poor.
Absolutely you can be.
Finish the job you're doing. That's another tip. If you can finish the job you're doing will go by faster. It'll be noon, probably about when I get this thing done. This is a fun job. Everybody should do this. Remember, learn from your mistakes. Your mistakes is what you learn from. In fact, you learn more from mistakes than you do from winning. You learn more from losing than from winning.